Hey everybody, Donna Woods here with Photonic Health. And on this episode of Health Made Simple, we have an extra special guest. Her name is Donna Blem, and she comes with a list of credentials a mile long, especially in the horse world. She is a natural horsemanship professional. She's been riding horses and showing since she's been a little girl. I know she rode and competed in Chicago and all over the place. She's been in Canada, and I know she has a huge thirst for never-ending self-improvement and education, especially when it comes to horses and understanding horsemanship. She is the former founder and director of In-Stride Therapy. She held that position for 20 years. This is an equine assisted riding therapy program. At the time that she retired after 20 years, it was one of the largest in the entire country. And that in itself speaks volumes for her horsemanship, because not only was she having to take care of the horses and make sure that they were taken care of, connecting them with the correct riders and volunteers and fundraising. Like, it was that's a huge undertaking, and to be able to do that for 20 years is amazing, Donna. And because of all of that, she is also a business consultant. Obviously, with all of that experience, she has lots of words of wisdom. So, Donna, welcome. We're so happy to have you today.
Thank you so much, my friend. It's such a pleasure to be here. Photonic Health and I go back a long time, and I just have so much to share. And every time I use the light, I learn more and more. So I'm super happy to be here.
Yes. And I wanted, typically we with these interviews, we chat about like whatever you want to chat about. And usually there's some specialty involved. And you and I have chatted off screen quite a bit. And every time I'm absolutely blown away by what you've accomplished and some of your stories about using red light therapy, and especially the Photonic Health products. And I really felt like, I mean, you have a lot of stories, but there were a couple of them that really stood out to me and that I felt was something that needed to be heard. So, would you like to start, like, just tell us how did you get started in red light therapy?
Yeah, so I don't know the number of years, but it's a lot, a good 15, I'm sure. But I learned about it when I was at the Pirelli campus, and you guys were doing a presentation, and I was just kind of watching and learning and kind of interested, but didn't know too much and was a little apprehensive. But I thought, well, let's just get one and kind of play with it. And it was the best thing I've ever done. And of course, having access to all those therapy horses, I literally had a chart on each one, and we would check them out, did a pre-check, and then we would check off all the things that needed help, and then do a post-check. So we actually made it part of our routine, our health and wellness routine for all of our therapy horses. And I really believe like having that opportunity, it actually not only helped the horses, but helped me in a lot of ways. It helped me even with my feel and timing and horsemanship, which is so important because you start to listen to them breathe different. You start to notice the little blinks or the twitch in the muscle or something before something happens. So you really, the more you use it, to me, the more in tuned I got to all my horses. And then they would show me things that needed to be addressed. I remember one new horse was coming in. I was like, well, let's do its wellness program. And he very clearly showed me that in one specific area, he was very agitated. I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but let me go look. So I went and had a look, and it said something that maybe his teeth needed something. So I called the dentist. Sure enough, his teeth were horrible and needed some dental work that he told me because I was messing around with the red light and doing my wellness check. So it really started to become a staple of the barn. Like anything happened, we almost had a protocol, red light. And then if it was something, I have a strong horse health background. So before I'd call the vet, maybe I would move it around or give it some Banamine, but it was always red light, Banamine, then call the vet. So it really became a huge part of everything we did with all of the horses, from wellness to sickness to colic. I remember one of my therapy horses was dropping, and they rushed in to get me, and I grabbed the red light first because that's our protocol, and was doing the charts. And he just very clearly told me exactly where he wanted me to red light him. Like he just kind of whipped his head around. He's
Right.
like, here, Donna, do this spot. I said, okay, well, you know more than I do, Whisper. And I did that spot and just held it there and held it there. And he immediately started passing gas and he was happy. And it was just like, I have a million stories. And I used to say, the red light saved me tens of thousands of dollars, but honestly, it's probably 10 times that. Like with the amount of horses I've used it on and how it's helped my horses, it has just been just a life changer. And then it's been a fun journey to share with our volunteers and such. So I highly recommend it. I use it. I have my own stories that I can share with you, stuff like that. But one of the things that we always laugh about is my horse Gift, who you guys actually have a photo of his scar on his leg, that it helped so dramatically. It was like unbelievable. I'm so thankful that it
Yes.
says that the red light helps a scar. So I took a before picture and an after picture, and it is unbelievable. Like we can antidote what we think and feel, but that was like pure proof.
Pure proof. And thank you for sharing that with us, because literally that those two pictures are literally on all of our marketing materials, because we know that there's a lot of different things that can help in like an acute situation. But animals get scars too, and it affects them just like it affects us. And to find something that works so incredibly well on scars on animals, and especially horses, is huge. And so it's still one of the pictures, the before after photos that, we just got done working a trade show, and it's up front and center, and people are like, oh my God, really? And I think we'll just have our gals insert that photo so you guys can see it, for those of you that are watching this. But do you want to go ahead, Donna, and just sort of give us an overview, like what happened, like the whole thing about it?
Yeah, so Gift is a very active young man, and he's like 28 now. But he is just one of those horses that just has 9 lives. Like I don't know how, one thing after another. But that original scar took place when he was 7 months old, and he was being transported down to Florida from the owner before me, and he had flipped in the horse trailer. So the scar was when he was like 7 or 8 months old is when it happened, and I bought him when he was 8. So fast forward all those years, and then I learned about the red light. So maybe at this point he's 9, maybe. And like somebody said, those red lights work great on scars. So I was like, oh, I'll try it. So I took a picture, and then I treated that area with the light. And there was a central area in there that he really got agitated with. Like he'd lift his leg up and kind of try to kick me a little bit. So I just pulled the light away from it, and just
Right.
kind of held it there and just said, okay, well, where can you tolerate this? And in less than 7 sessions, I think it's 5, but 5 to 7 treatments, and we're talking minutes of treating this thing, not hours, not
Right.
ever. We're talking minutes, is the before and after photo. And I did them like every day in a row, I believe, for 5 to 7 days. And it's like, that's the picture. And the spot in the middle
Yeah.
got less and less, like he got less and less jumpy with his leg as it kind of, the progress started, and we kept it going. And to this day, it still looks like the after scar. So
That's
even,
amazing. I love that. And scar tissue is something that a lot of horse people, or even dog people for that matter, don't even think about. And so usually, like when we go out to work on horses, and if they're branded, the first thing we do is we illuminate their brand, and we get immediate releases and responses from it. And I think it's just one of those things, because there's basically what's happening is the fascia underneath that skin is getting tightened and pulled and pushed in different directions, and it actually has, that scar can have an impact on the entire horse. So to be able to minimize that scar, soften it up, and get hair regrowth on it is a huge deal. And so that's one of the things that we're always chatting to people about, is absolutely use it on your scars. Your dogs, if they've been spayed or neutered, that's a scar. Use it on that area, and you'd be amazed at how well they respond to it. From a horsemanship perspective, since you're, very well versed in your natural horsemanship professional, we get a lot of people that go, oh, well, my horse tried kicking me when I put the light there. Can you give your analogy of that and what your strategies are with that?
Yeah, so I try to use cautious and look at boundaries and stuff and put a feel into it. So if there's an area, especially if it's the hind end and that, like, if their hamstrings are really tight or that stuff, I'll put my other hand on them and just kind of give them a little bit. It's okay, but also gives me a little bit of a safety thing. If something were to happen, this hand would feel it first, and I could just push away and just say, okay, that's great. I can also have the option of maybe taking the light off some, so it's not directly on that area, because it does have a good radius of where it could hit. So those are some safety things that I would take. So put a little bit of you on the horse, like the horse that was showing me signs that In Stride was a new therapy horse, and I was just like kind of leaning against it, and he actually kind of violently came and he was going to bite me. So I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that one coming. So I just kind of blocked him pretty quickly. So be aware. Be aware of your surroundings, right. Be aware of the energy that they're producing, the energy that you're producing, like kind of ground yourself, make sure you're doing a nice connective energy. But if you have that extra hand on it, it gives you an extra safety thing. And I think it helps connect the whole energy cycle of the healing process. So I put loving thoughts into that hand that's on there, but I'm also very aware if they shift into me or whatever, that I have a way to push that off.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, that's one of those things that it's, the intent is to help the animal, but you have to be safe first, because if you get injured in trying to help them, then it sort of negates the whole thing. And so, yeah.
And I'd have the halter and rope on. So like if it really was that, you can even pull the nose to you. So you don't want to be pulling on the nose if you're treating the back end, but I could be very quick to say, oh, hey, nose, come here, which will kick the back end away from you also. So
right.
You don't have to do this at liberty, like use some precautions and some safety.
Yes. I love that. I love that. So Donna, you have another story to share with us. And this is a pretty major one. And it's interesting because I didn't know you at the time. You were still down in Sarasota, and I think we had just moved to Florida, or maybe not. We might have still been on the road traveling. And but I do remember that somebody, a friend of a friend, had said, we have this person, and this is something's going on with the horse. And I'll let you tell the story. But it ended up, I didn't hear the end of it, or the outcome of it, until years later. And so for me, it was like, oh, okay, so me talking and reaching out to people and offering suggestions is sometimes a really good thing and has great outcomes.
Well,
sometimes me being pushy and having a big mouth is a good thing.
No, I greatly appreciate it, because I was kind of at my wit's end here. I mentioned earlier how much money it saved me because of vet bills and medical bills. But in this given situation, it wasn't about the money. I was in the middle of nowhere and had no resources. So it was probably one of the scariest things I've been in with a horse. I've had horses that have had massive things happen in a short period of time, and the result ended in not a pleasant thing. It's just life has happened. But this one was kind of a prolonged thing over about 4 weeks. So what happened was, I was in Canada at this point, and I believe you went to In Stride for something, and one of my people grabbed you and told you what was going on, is I believe how the story went. So I was in Canada and northern British Columbia, and there is local vets, but they kind of more specialized in dogs, and they did have an equine thing, but they were zero help to me. I went out to the field and grabbed my same horse, Gift, God love him, and he was choking. So he was choking pretty badly. So we rushed him to the vet in town, and as she was trying to get this choke out of him, there was just so much blood coming out of him. Like her feeling timing was one of the most horrific feeling timings I've ever seen. I know tubing horses isn't necessarily easy, but this was literally the worst one I've ever seen. And I remember stopping her. I said, I don't know what you're doing, but you're going to have to do something else because it's not working. So we finally get the choke down and the blood has stopped. Everything has stopped. So I take him home back to the ranch and kind of keep an eye on him. And I come and get him the next day, and there's just stuff coming out of his nose, like a lot of stuff is coming out of his nose. So I rush him back to the vet, and they're like, there's nothing in here. There's nothing wrong with your horse. Take him home. So I take him home again, and this continued again and rushed him back to the vet. Now the vet's mad because we didn't have an appointment. So he actually kind of screamed at the guy that took him in for me and said, there's nothing wrong with your horse. He's not choking. There's nothing we can do. So at this time, it's bad. Like there's like white foam coming out of his mouth. There is no other vets around. I'm literally like, I don't know what to do here. This is now 3 days of this. And I remember just sitting in his round pen, like at this point, he's going to start to colic. He can't eat or drink. And I just had buckets of anything I could think of with a huge syringe and just ask him, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? And he kind of would come over and I'd give him a syringe of stuff, just doing the best I could in the situation. And somebody said to me that there's another vet about an hour away. They'll see you. So I load him up on Monday now. So now it's been 5 days of this. We have a beautiful windy day here in Florida. We have 5 days of this, and I take him to that vet, and he's just really skinny at this point. Like he's dehydrated, he's skinny, he's lethargic. It's everything you can not want. And they get him in there and they have a hard time scoping him. So they have a camera now and they're going to look down and see what they can find. And they had a hard time scoping him, and kind of like when it's other people's horses, I'm a little bit better, but it was my own horse watching him suffer. So I said, I'm just going to go outside and take a walk or something. And then they called me, we've got it down now, come back in. So I come back in and they said, we can't see anything. Like we see no blockage. We see nothing. Like, I don't know what's going on. And they said I could go down to Edmonton, and that's a 13-hour drive. So at this point, he's kind of barely standing. He's very wobbly. He's everything we do. So I take him back to the ranch. I'm hand picking grass. I'm offering him all sorts of different things just to eat a little bit, drink a little bit. But like everything he ate or drank just kept coming out of his nose. So this continues on, and the vets from Dawson said, well, we're in your area. This is now Thursday. We're in your area. Do you want us to stop by? I said, yes, please do. He's still not well. So they stopped by, and they're like, kind of looked at me and gave me the talk of, should we put him down? And I said, no, there's just a light in his eye. I don't know what's going on here, but I just really kind of had to talk to him. And he's like, no, Donna, don't do it. So I said, okay. And had I decided to, then that would have been a decision because of based on the situation. But there was just something that was telling me not to do this. And I said, just load him up with vitamins, load him up with anything you can think of. Give him the best cocktails you can think of because, he's doesn't have a lot of things right now. So they did, and it's perked him up a little bit. Well, this continued for honestly another 2.5 weeks of all of this stuff. So, I'm just at my wit's end. He's still hanging in there. He still has a light in his eye. And like I could probably cry. I remember there was one time I was in the round pen with him and there was a little bunny and I had everything set up. I had like little stations of little cookies here or this there or that there and water here. And this little bunny would join us. So it would be the 3 of us in the round pen together during the day. And I got an email from you and you said, hey, Donna, I heard that you guys are struggling up there. I think your horse has dislocated his hyoid. Try these points. I said, well, shit, I'll try anything. Like, I'm really on thin grounds here. So I know when I brought and there's only 3 points if I remember right. I know when I brought the red light up to his temple area that he just went kind of ape shit. So I knew that there was something to this. So I had to hold it way away from him and just rub on him and hold his head and kind of keep things going. So I knew I was on to something. So I was like, okay, good. So I would do it multiple times a day. And again, it's minutes. I'm not out there for hours, but I would go out multiple times a day and just see what happened. And I could see a little bit of changes. And I think maybe 4 days in, stuff stopped coming out of his nose.
Wow. And
yeah.
he started eating.
He started being able to eat and keep it down. Like literally he would drink and it would just come right out of his nose. I would see him drinking the thing and he would drink. So something was going in, but 80% was coming out.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That, it's interesting because we've been beating the hyoid drum for a very long time, actually. I think I first learned about it back in 2006. And, with Brian being an engineer, him and I sort of put our brains together and said, well, how could we utilize the power of the red light to reset a hyoid without and a lot, like you're a professional, but how can we access that to the average person that uh, doesn't have much medical equine experience or equine bodywork experience? And so we initially started with the 3 points, and we've seen it work miracles, but I think the miracle of all miracles of just resetting the hyoid or releasing that hyoid is your story with Gift, because it's, what, 5 vets, 4 vets, 5, 6 vet visits, and
Yeah, 6 vet visits, and everyone told me to put him down. Like it was unanimous. There's nothing else we can do. We're at our realm of knowledge.
yeah,
And these were like vets in the way tundra, so like they're not, but they were out of anything that they could do. And
right. Yeah. And we get that, because we started into horses in Wisconsin, and that was one of the reasons we went into business, because the closest equine vet was an hour away. And when you have something going south with your horse, I really don't want to have to wait till after the Packer game is over before my
exactly.
veterinarian shows up, which we've had that happen. And so that's one of the beautiful things about, one of the driving factors for us starting our business was because we wanted to really empower the horse owners and dog owners and cat owners. And whether it's a bridge tool between the veterinarians, an ancillary therapy, or a primary therapy. And so I just love hearing these stories from people like you, that it's awful because we've got horses of our own, and I couldn't imagine like the torment the internal struggle you went through, because that, first off, we don't like seeing our animals suffer. Second off, we know like they're not eating and they're not drinking, so we know that that's super detrimental to their health.
Exactly.
And then being told by other professionals that there is only one option, and just that icky awful feeling. And so to be able to have full outcome, and now he's what, 28 years old? 28?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go. I love it. We really do need to get a picture with him and you together,
Okay.
all together. That would be super fun. So, awesome. This was such fun. Are there any other stories you'd like to chat about? Or, I mean, I think we've covered quite a bit. And I think
Yeah,
we've
those are pretty powerful ones for sure. And like, especially like you said, being out there with no other help, like it definitely saved his life. There's just no question in my mind that my light saved his life, and your help, reaching out and telling me what you think it was.
Yeah. Awesome. Yay. This was so much fun. For people that are interested in how to release a hyoid and understanding the mechanics of the hyoid apparatus in horses, please feel free to visit our website, photonichealth.com. We have a free blog post with videos on there, because it is such an important component of the horse. And especially because horses are unique in that we're putting things in their mouth and we're riding them. And so that adds an extra complexity to it. But we want that information to be out there to everybody. So please take a peek at our website. We also have a YouTube video on it as well. And the other aspect of it is really is that we're here to support you. Like, we're here to support, what do you have going on that you need help with, or that you've tried X, Y, and Z, and reaching out to us. That's what our company is built on, is you don't have to do this journey alone. And we have a huge wealth of information, and we have a huge network that if we can't help out, we probably know somebody that can probably at least point you in the right direction. Donna is one of those people. So Donna, thank you so much for joining us today. This is so grateful for you and for Gift and sharing your journey with us and him. And let's cross our fingers that he's got many more years to go.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.